The synthetic coffee from the dispenser tasted like disappointment, but Jaden Cross drank it anyway. At 19, he'd grown accustomed to compromises. The campus cafe's fluorescent lights hummed overhead as he wiped down the last table. His third shift of the day finally ending. Through the wide windows, he could see the glittering spires of Horizon City's alien quarter. Where species from across the galaxy mingled in neon-lit streets, he could never afford to explore. His wrist communicator buzzed with a message from Nina. Heater's broken again. It's freezing. Jaden sighed, mentally calculating which bill he could delay to cover repairs. Their tiny apartment in the human district was falling apart. But it was all they could afford since their parents died in the colony transport accident 2 years ago. "Rough night?" asked Myra, his Centaurian co-worker, as she counted the register. Her copper skin gleamed under the lights, and Jaden felt the familiar pang of inadequacy. She was here by choice, taking a gap year before joining her family's merchant fleet. He was here because he had nowhere else to go. "Just tired," he replied, forcing a smile. "See you tomorrow." The evening air carried the scent of exotic street food as Jaden stepped outside, his stomach growling. He clutched the small container of leftover sandwiches the manager had given him. Tonight's dinner, and probably tomorrow's lunch. The walk home took him past the transit station, where the sleek alien's transports hummed with energy he couldn't afford to use. That's when he noticed the figure huddled against the station wall. The alien was clearly elderly, his purple skin marked with the silver patterns of age that Jaden recognized as Zalarian. His once elegant robes were tattered and stained, hanging loosely on his thin frame. But it was his eyes that caught Jaden's attention, deep violet orbs that held unexpected clarity. Despite his apparent destitution, Jaden knew he shouldn't stop. Every credit mattered. Nina needed warmer clothes. The heater wouldn't fix itself. But his feet betrayed his logic, carrying him toward the huddled figure. "Excuse me, sir," Jaden heard himself say. "Are you hungry?" The Zalarian looked up slowly, those violet eyes focusing on him with unsettling intensity. "Young human," he said, his voice surprisingly melodious despite its weakness. "You would offer food to a stranger?" "It's not much," Jaden admitted, opening the container. "Just some sandwiches from work. But they're fresh, and it's cold tonight." The alien's expression shifted to something Jaden couldn't quite read. "You work at the cafe?" "Those clothes suggest long hours." Jaden glanced down at his stained uniform, suddenly self-conscious. 3 jobs, actually. Caf, library, and weekend data entry. "My sister and I, we're making it work." "Making it work?" the Zalarian repeated softly. "What is your name, generous one?" "Jaden Cross. And you?" "You may call me Velkin." The alien accepted the sandwiches with trembling hands. "Tell me, Jaden Cross, why do you work 3 jobs when you're clearly exhausted?" Jaden sat down beside him, the cold pavement seeping through his thin pants. "My parents died 2 years ago. Nina's only 16, still in school. Someone has to provide." He surprised himself by continuing. "I had a scholarship to Stellar Nexus Academy, full ride, but I had to turn it down. Couldn't leave Nina alone." Velkin ate slowly, savoring each bite. "The prestigious academy. You gave up your dream for family." "Wasn't really a choice," Jaden shrugged. "She's all I have." They sat in companionable silence for a while, watching the alien transports glide by overhead. Finally, Velkin spoke again. "Your mother, did she teach you this kindness?" Jaden felt the familiar ache in his chest. "She used to say that we might not have much, but we can always share what we have. That's what makes us human, I guess. The ability to care, even when it hurts." Velkin's violet eyes seemed to glow faintly in the darkness. "A wise woman. She would be proud of the man you've become." "I hope so," Jaden whispered. As he stood to leave, Velkin grasped his wrist gently. "Jaden Cross, your kindness tonight has meant more than you know. The universe has a way of remembering such gestures." Jaden smiled awkwardly. "Just trying to be decent, sir. Take care of yourself." Walking away, he felt lighter, despite giving away his dinner. Nina had leftover noodles at home. They'd manage, like always. He didn't notice Velkin's fingers brush against an invisible device in his tattered robes. Or the way the old alien watched him with calculating intelligence. 3 days later, everything changed. Jaden woke to his communicator blazing with messages. The first was from Stellar Nexus Academy, reinstating his scholarship with full stipend and accommodations for family members. The second was from the City Medical Center, confirming prepaid treatment for Nina's chronic asthma, a condition they'd been managing with cheap inhalers. The third was from an anonymous benefactor, depositing enough credits to cover 6 months of rent and repairs. Nina burst into his room, her gray eyes wide with disbelief. "Jaden, did you see? Someone paid for everything. My inhaler treatments, your school, even the apartment." He stared at the messages, his mind racing back to the purple-skinned beggar. "It can't be coincidence. Who cares?" Nina laughed, throwing her arms around him. "You can go to the academy. You can actually follow your dream." But as Jaden held his sister, he felt a strange tingling in his fingertips. That night, he dreamed of violet eyes and voices speaking in languages he shouldn't understand, telling him that humanity's potential had barely been awakened, that kindness was currency in ways he couldn't yet comprehend. "Excuse me, sir," Jaden heard himself say. "Are you hungry?" The Zalarine looked up slowly, those violet eyes focusing on him with unsettling intensity. "Young human," he said, his voice surprisingly melodious despite its weakness. "You would offer food to a stranger?" "It's not much," Jaden admitted, opening the container. "Just some sandwiches from work. But they're fresh, and it's cold tonight." The alien's expression shifted to something Jaden couldn't quite read. "You work at the cafe? Those clothes suggest long hours." Jaden glanced down at his stained uniform, suddenly self-conscious. 3 jobs, actually. Caf, library, and weekend data entry. "My sister and I, we're making it work." "Making it work," the Zalarine repeated softly. "What is your name, generous one?" "Jaden Cross, and you. You may call me Velkin." The alien accepted the sandwiches with trembling hands. "Tell me, Jaden Cross, why do you work 3 jobs when you're clearly exhausted?" Jaden sat down beside him, the cold pavement seeping through his thin pants. "My parents died 2 years ago. Nina's only 16, still in school. Someone has to provide," surprised himself by continuing. "I had a scholarship to Stellar Nexus Academy, full ride, but I had to turn it down. Couldn't leave Nina alone." Velkin ate slowly, savoring each bite. "The prestigious academy. You gave up your dream for family?" "It wasn't really a choice," Jaden shrugged. "She's all I have." They sat in companionable silence for a while, watching the alien transports glide by overhead. Finally, Velkin spoke again. "Your mother, did she teach you this kindness?" Jaden felt the familiar ache in his chest. "She used to say that we might not have much, but we can always share what we have. That's what makes us human, I guess. The ability to care, even when it hurts." Velkin's violet eyes seemed to glow faintly in the darkness. "A wise woman. She would be proud of the man you've become." "I hope so," Jaden whispered. As he stood to leave, Velkin grasped his wrist gently. "Jaden Cross, your kindness tonight has meant more than you know. The universe has a way of remembering such gestures." Jaden smiled awkwardly. "Just trying to be decent, sir. Take care of yourself." Walking away, he felt lighter despite giving away his dinner. Nina had leftover noodles at home. They'd manage, like always. He didn't notice Velkin's fingers brush against an invisible device in his tattered robes, or the way the old alien watched him with calculating intelligence. 3 days later, everything changed. Jaden woke to his communicator blazing with messages. The first was from Stellar Nexus Academy, reinstating his scholarship with full stipend and accommodations for family members. The second was from the City Medical Center, confirming prepaid treatment for Nina's chronic asthma, a condition they'd been managing with cheap inhalers. The third was from an anonymous benefactor, depositing enough credits to cover 6 months of rent and repairs. Nina burst into his room, her gray eyes wide with disbelief. "Jaden, did you see? Someone paid for everything. My inhaler treatments, your school, even the apartment." He stared at the messages, his mind racing back to the purple-skinned beggar. It can't be coincidence. Who cares? Nina laughed, throwing her arms around him. You can go to the academy. You can actually follow your dream. But as Jaden held his sister, he felt a strange tingling in his fingertips. That night, he dreamed of violet eyes and voices speaking in languages he shouldn't understand, telling him that humanity's potential had barely been awakened. That kindness was currency in ways he couldn't yet comprehend. When he woke, a book on his nightstand was floating 6 inches above the surface, glowing with soft blue light. The stellar Nexus Academy rose like a crystal mountain from the heart of Horizon City, its transparent spires catching the light of 3 suns. Jaden stood at the entrance plaza, his single battered suitcase feeling inadequate among the floating luggage pods of his fellow students. Nina squeezed his hand, her new inhaler tucked safely in her pocket, her breathing easier than it had been in years. You've got this, she whispered. Mom would be so proud. Sleek transport glided to a stop beside them, and a figure emerged that made Jaden's breath catch. She was tall and graceful, her skin a luminous teal that seemed to shift like ocean water in sunlight. Silver markings traced elegant patterns down her neck and arms, and her eyes were the color of amber honey. She wore the academy uniform with natural elegance, the dark fabric complementing her alien beauty. You must be the new human students, she said, her voice carrying a melodic accent. I'm Ria Vantas, student ambassador. Welcome to Stellar Nexus, Jaden Cross, he managed, suddenly aware of his threadbare jacket. This is my sister, Nina. Ria's honey-colored eyes lingered on him with curious warmth. Cross? You're the one who turned down the scholarship originally. That shows remarkable character. She gestured toward the main building. Come, I'll show you to your quarters. They're in the family wing, quite comfortable. As they walked through the marble corridors, Jaden noticed the stairs. Humans were rare at Stellar Nexus, usually only the children of diplomats or wealthy merchants. A poor human on scholarship was practically unheard of. The whispers followed them like shadows. Ignore them, Ria said softly, falling into step beside Jaden, while Nina wandered ahead, marveling at the architecture. Most species here have never met a human before. Curiosity, not malice. And the ones who look at us like we're contaminating their air? Ria's expression darkened. Those are harder to ignore. But you'll find allies here too. Their quarters were beyond anything Jaden had imagined. 2 bedrooms, a common area with actual furniture that wasn't broken, and windows overlooking the city. Nina immediately claimed the smaller bedroom, already planning where to set up her art supplies. Orientation begins in an hour, Ria said, lingering at the doorway. I could escort you if you'd like, save you from getting lost. Something in her tone suggested the offer meant more than simple navigation. Jaden felt heat rise to his cheeks. I'd appreciate that. Her smile was radiant. Good. I've been hoping to learn more about humans. You're fascinating. After she left, Nina emerged from her room, grinning. She likes you. Don't be ridiculous. I'm 16, not blind. Also, I had a flash while you were talking. Jadan turned sharply. A flash? Nina had been having them since the mysterious benefactor's gifts arrived. Moments where she saw things that hadn't happened yet, usually seconds before they occurred. Small things mostly. A dropped glass. A stumbled step. But they were growing stronger. Just a feeling, Nina said carefully. That she's important. To you, to everything that's coming. The orientation hall was packed with students from dozens of species. Jaden sat beside Ria, acutely aware of her proximity. The faint scent of something like ocean breeze that seemed to emanate from her skin. Throughout the dean's welcome speech, he caught her glancing at him, and each time their eyes met, she smiled. The academy was founded on principles of interspecies cooperation, Dean Veroth announced, his crystalline form refracting rainbow light across the audience. Here, differences are celebrated. Prejudices are challenged. Hypocritical nonsense, a cold voice said from behind them. Jaden turned to find himself facing a Zalarian student, his purple skin marked with patterns of privilege and youth. But it was his violet eyes that struck Jaden with recognition. They held the same unsettling intelligence as Velkin's. Castor Thalon, the Zalarian, introduced himself with a mocking bow. And you must be the charity case my grandfather has taken such peculiar interest in. Your grandfather. Jaden felt the pieces clicking into place. The beggar you fed was no beggar at all, Castor continued, his voice dripping with contempt. Professor Velkin Thalen, industrial magnate and, apparently, human enthusiast. He's been searching for the perfect specimen for his little experiment. Rhea stood abruptly. Castor, that's enough. Stay out of this, Vontus. Castor's violet eyes narrowed on Jaden. Did he tell you what he's really doing? The Human Enhancement Program. You're not here because of merit, human. You're here because you're a test subject. Before Jaden could respond, another human voice cut through the tension. Back off, Thalen. Stocky human with military-cut brown hair pushed through the crowd. Marcus Webb, he introduced himself, extending a hand to Jaden. Transfer student from the outer colonies. Don't let this purple peacock intimidate you. Castor's expression darkened. You humans are all the same. Primitive, emotional, and the lights flickered. Every student in the hall felt it simultaneously, a pulse of energy that made the air taste like copper. Jaden's hands began to glow with the same blue light from his dreams. What's happening? Someone screamed. Nina grabbed Jaden's arm, her eyes unfocused. The sublevels. Something's been hidden. We need to, she gasped. Professor Thalen is down there. He's in danger. How do you know that? Marcus demanded. I just do. Nina's voice was desperate. Please, we have to help him. Rhea was already moving. The research levels, they're restricted, but I know the access codes. She looked at Jaden. Are you coming? He should have been angry about being manipulated, about being someone's experiment. But the blue light pulsing from his hands felt right, like a part of himself finally waking up. Lead the way. They raced through corridors that grew increasingly sparse. Marcus and a handful of curious students following. Castor trailed behind, his expression unreadable. The access door required Rhea's biometric signature, which she provided without hesitation. The sublevel was a maze of laboratories and observation rooms. In the central chamber, they found Professor Thalen. No longer disguised as a beggar, working frantically at a holographic control panel. Floating around him were dozens of data spheres showing human genetic sequences. Grandfather, Castor shouted, what have you done? Thalen turned, his ancient face showing surprise and resignation. Jaden, I hoped you wouldn't discover this so soon. Discover what? Jaden demanded. That you've been experimenting on humans. That everything, the scholarship, the medical treatments, was just to study us? To awaken you? Thalen corrected gently. Humans possess latent abilities that most species lost millions of years ago. Empathy so profound it becomes telepathic. Adaptability that manifests as physical enhancement. The capacity for rapid evolution in response to need. He gestured to the data. Your kindness that night wasn't just charity, Jaden. It was a test of your fundamental nature. And you passed. Nina's eyes widened. The dreams. The floating objects. My visions. You did this to us? I unlocked what was already there, Thalen said. But there's a problem. The Galactic Council has discovered my research. They're sending ships to shut down the program and detain all enhanced humans. They fear what you might become. Rhea moved to Jaden's side, her hand finding his. The touch sent warmth through his whole body, and the blue glow intensified. How long do we have? Minutes, Thalen admitted. I've been trying to purge the data, but an explosion rocked the facility. Alarms blared as emergency bulkheads began sealing. They're here already, Marcus said grimly. Castor stepped forward, his expression conflicted. Grandfather, you violated every research protocol. They'll imprison you. I know. Thalen's violet eyes found Jaden's. But I don't regret it. Humanity deserves its chance. Nina grabbed Jaden's hand, then Rhea's, forming a connection. The moment their hands linked, Jaden felt it. A network of consciousness expanding outward, touching Marcus, touching other humans throughout the facility he hadn't known were there. Dozens of minds, all awakening simultaneously. We're all connected, Nina breathed. Through the connection, Jaden sensed the approaching security forces, felt their intentions. But he also felt something else. The combined potential of every awakened human, and at the center of it all, Ria's alien consciousness harmonizing with his own in a way that felt impossibly right. I have an idea, he said, the blue light spreading from his hands to encompass them all. But we have to trust each other completely. Ria squeezed his hand tighter, her teal skin beginning to glow silver where they touched. Then let's show them what trust looks like. The security forces breached the sublevel entrance with military precision, their weapons charged and ready. Jaden felt their approach through the psychic network Nina had accidentally created. Each mind a distinct presence in the expanding web of consciousness. There were 12 awakened humans in the facility, all connected now, their combined awareness pulsing like a heartbeat. Stand down, Commander Vorik announced, his insectoid form clicking as he moved. All enhanced humans are to be detained for evaluation. Jaden stepped forward, Ria still holding his hand. The connection between them felt electric, her alien physiology somehow amplifying his emerging abilities. We haven't done anything wrong. Your genetic anomalies created through unauthorized experimentation. Vorik replied coldly. The Council has deemed you a potential threat. Through the network, Jaden felt Marcus's anger, Nina's fear, and the confusion of the other awakened humans. But he also felt something unexpected. Castor's conflict. The Zalarian was torn between family loyalty and his own prejudices. Commander, if I may, Professor Thalon stepped forward, his aged voice carrying authority. These humans are not weapons. They're the next stage of galactic evolution. Proof that humanity has been underestimated, which is precisely why they're dangerous, a new voice interrupted. Another Zalarian entered, her purple skin marked with governmental insignia. I am Counselor Vex. Professor Thalon, your research threatens the established balance of power. Enhanced humans could destabilize centuries of carefully maintained species hierarchies, because we might finally be equals, Jaden challenged, feeling Ria's supportive presence beside him. Vex's violet eyes narrowed, because unregulated power leads to chaos. The facility shook violently, cutting off further debate. Red emergency lights flooded the corridors as a computerized voice announced, critical failure in primary fusion core. Containment breach in 15 minutes. Evacuation protocols engaged. That's impossible, Thalon gasped, rushing to a terminal. The safety systems were just inspected. Castor's face went pale. Grandfather, I may have accessed the core controls earlier. I thought if I could prove the facility was unsafe, the Council would shut down your research without arresting everyone. You sabotaged the reactor? Marcus shouted. You've killed us all. The magnitude of the crisis rippled through their psychic network. 15 minutes until a fusion reactor breach would vaporize not just the Academy, but 10 city blocks surrounding it. Millions of lives, human and alien alike. Nina's eyes went distant, seeing potential futures. There's a way. But it requires all of us working together. Humans and aliens. What do you see? Ria asked urgently. The reactor needs simultaneous cooling from multiple access points. Manual shutdown requires coordination impossible for any individual. Nina's voice carried certainty beyond her years. But we're not individuals anymore. We're a network. Jaden understood immediately. We use the psychic link to coordinate perfectly. But we need aliens too. Ria, your people have natural heat resistance. Commander, your species can navigate by electromagnetic fields. You're suggesting an interspecies rescue operation? Vorik's mandibles clicked skeptically. Coordinated by untrained humans with barely controlled abilities? 14 minutes, the computer announced. Counselor Vex looked between the gathered humans and the warning displays. Political calculation warred with survival instinct on her face. If we fail, the Council will have evidence that enhanced humans are indeed too dangerous. If we fail, the Council won't exist to judge anyone, Thalon said quietly. Ria squeezed Jaden's hand, her honey eyes meeting his. I trust you. Tell me what to do. Her words catalyzed something profound in Jaden, The blue glow intensified, spreading through their joined hands, and suddenly he could feel Ria's thoughts as clearly as his own. The psychic network expanded, encompassing her alien consciousness. Through her, he sensed the potential to bridge the gap between species. "Anyone who wants to help, take a human's hand," Jaden called out. "Let us link you to the network." Marcus grabbed Commander Vork's claw. Two other security officers hesitantly joined with awakened humans. Even Castor, tears streaming down his purple face, took Nina's outstretched hand. The moment they connected, Jaden felt the network transform. Alien perspectives merged with human intuition, creating something unprecedented. Through Vork's electromagnetic sense, they could map the entire facility. Through Ria's heat resistance, they could endure conditions that would kill humans. Through Castor's technical knowledge, they understood the reactor's complex systems. 12 minutes. Radiation levels rising, Jaden felt himself becoming something more than individual. A conductor for the collective consciousness. Teams of 3. Humans provide coordination, aliens provide specialized abilities. Nina, you're our eyes. See the path that leads to success? They moved with impossible synchronization. Marcus, Commander Vork, and a Centaurian engineer navigated to the eastern coolant junction. Ria, Jaden, and 2 other awakened humans headed for the reactor core itself. Castor joined Nina and Professor Thalen at the control center. The heat near the reactor core was overwhelming. Jaden's skin blistered instantly, but through the network, Ria channeled her species' thermal regulation, cooling him enough to function. Her teal skin glowed silver, radiating absorbed heat harmlessly. "I've got you," she whispered through their link, and Jaden felt her love as tangibly as the heat. In that moment, surrounded by deadly radiation, he knew with absolute certainty that this alien woman was his soulmate. 9 minutes. Through Nina's prescient visions, shared across the network, they navigated to the manual override stations. 7 points requiring simultaneous activation, each in different sections of the failing reactor. Physically impossible for unlinked individuals. But they were linked, Jaden felt. Marcus's hands on distant controls as if they were his own. Felt Vork's electromagnetic manipulation stabilizing plasma flow. Felt Castor's guilt transforming into determination as he calculated the precise sequence needed. 6 minutes. Containment at 15%. Now. Nina's voice echoed through every connected mind. 7 hands moved as one. 7 override switches activated in perfect synchronization. The reactor's violent shaking lessened, the angry red glow dimming to amber. Containment rising. 20%. 30%. It wasn't enough. The damage was too extensive. Even with the manual overrides engaged, the core would still breach in minutes. Through their link, Jaden felt Nina's vision sharpen. There's one more way. But Jaden. ... Her mental voice carried terror. The cost. He saw what she saw. A possibility where he entered the reactor core itself. Using his telekinetic abilities to physically compress the plasma wall, Ria channeled the excess heat through her body and into his. They would become a living conduit, a bridge between matter and energy. They might survive. They might not. "No," Ria said aloud, sensing his intention. "I won't lose you." "You won't," Jaden replied, pulling her close. "We do this together, or not at all." Her amber eyes searched his face. This human tendency towards self-sacrifice. It's infuriating. And this Verosian tendency to argue during emergencies is adorable. But we're out of time. He kissed her deeply, tasting ocean breeze and stardust. "Do you trust me?" "With everything I am." They entered the reactor chamber hand in hand, the network supporting them, guiding them. Jaden extended his consciousness into the failing plasma core, feeling the violent atomic chaos. Beside him, Ria opened herself completely, becoming a heat sink beyond anything her species had achieved before. The pain was transcendent. Jaden felt himself burning and freezing simultaneously, his cells screaming as they adapted or died. But through it all, Ria's presence anchored him. Her love, fierce and alien and completely his, gave him strength beyond physical limits. Through the network, every connected mind lent their will. Marcus's stubborn determination, Nina's faith in her brother, even Castor's desperate need to fix his mistake. They poured themselves into Jaden and Rhea, making them more than two individuals. Containment at 60%, 70%. Jaden's hands, glowing blue-white with impossible power, compressed the plasma. Rhea's skin shifted through the spectrum, absorbing energy that should have vaporized her. Their bodies pressed together to becoming one, alien and human, unified in purpose. 90%. Containment stable. They collapsed simultaneously, their connection breaking as unconsciousness claimed them both. Jaden woke in a medical bay, Nina's tear-stained face hovering over him. "You're alive," she sobbed. "You've been unconscious for 3 days, Rhea." His voice cracked. Next room. "Also recovering. The doctors say you both should have died 100 times over." Nina's smile was tremulous. "But you didn't. You changed instead." Professor Thallon appeared, looking aged but relieved. "Your cellular structure has permanently adapted. You and Rhea are now biochemically bonded. Her DNA has integrated with yours in ways I've never seen. You're literally part of each other now. Is that bad?" "It's unprecedented," Thallon admitted. "But given that you saved millions of lives, the Council has decided to view it as proof of concept rather than aberration." Over the following weeks, the story spread across the galaxy. The humans who formed a psychic network with aliens to prevent catastrophe. The interspecies cooperation that achieved the impossible. Pub.